before going, Brian, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Can you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Sure. Brian Sprenger. I'm the CEO for the Bozeman Yellowstone International Airport.
Cool. And there's like 100 questions I could ask you about the airport, and this is a question I've always wanted to ask you. And this is the number one thing I hear from most of our clients that fly into the airport, and it's my personal experience is when I come into that airport, whether I'm going in, flying in or going out, it's got an atmosphere and a feeling like a museum.
hmm
There's beautiful art all over the place, and it feels so much like Montana. And I always just wonder with all the growth of the airport and everything is as CEO and being there so long, what has that been like maintaining that atmosphere and that feel, and have you had to say no to a lot of things?
Sure.
How's that done?
So, I think we were very fortunate back when the terminal was first designed back in 1976. So it opened in 1977. Uh, it was designed to be a lodge feel for, kind of relating to Montana in general.
Yeah.
And I think the fortunate part there was, ever since then, we've always tried to maintain that. And, when you do any kind of expansion, there's always, the potential for the design team to want to make it their own.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've had to, emphasize that, we want to maintain that ambiance, that aesthetic, and while we can improve things and make things better for the passenger, we don't want to lose that.
Yeah. Do you get that feedback from a lot of people that come there as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we really focus on, trying to avoid as much as possible stainless steel.
Yeah.
The rock and the wood, and the windows are just a major part of the terminal itself. And so we don't want to distract from that. Even our advertising program, we're not trying to plaster advertising all over the airport because that's not part of the ambiance that we want to have.
And even to that, in my opinion, the advertising that you guys have is art. It's those beautiful wood signs, and it's a lot of time and intention seems like it's gone into those.
Yeah, that really is a big part of the intention of what we're looking for. We have had many times where people want us to shift, and we have to redirect them back to the fact that our goal is to make an inviting place for people to come to.
Yeah, I don't know, it's amazing. It does not feel like an airport,
Uh-huh.
and it's definitely an airport.
Yeah.
So I mean, props to you and everyone involved. It's so cool that can be maintained with all the growth.
Well, thank you. It's a very important part of what we're trying to achieve.
And is that as far as the decisions, how much of that lays on you? How, is it the board? Is it a big team? I mean, kind of who says no? I mean, just in my mind, I imagine it's a lot more no's than yeses to upgrades and designs.
Yeah, it's really not as hard as it might sound. The board certainly gives us the direction of maintaining the direction that we want to move toward. And once you have that direction, we lay that out with our design team right up front, and they're more than happy to maintain that because it's really kind of an honor to be part of continuing the legacy that the airport and the terminal has.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule Media is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, or passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, post it in your story. That one simple action helps these businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this show keep going. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. Now back to the show. I always think it just from the nature of my work is Montana hospitality, and how do we, what impression do we give people when they come here to Montana? And,
Uh-huh.
We take it important from the ground transportation, but I think they get it from the second they walk in that airport. And it kind of sets everyone else up for success because it's such a beautiful intro.
That's our goal.
Yeah.
As we get bigger, it sometimes challenges that goal a little bit, but we keep trying to refocus back toward that original goal that was back in the late 70s.
Yeah. And is this year 26 you've been there?
This is year 26 that I've been with the airport authority.
Yeah.
My first job at the airport was 42 years ago. So
Wow.
I've seen a lot of the changes.
Yeah. What's that? I know it's a big question, but what's it looked like from what you could remember to now?
Really, my first experiences at the airport were the old terminal buildings. So it's certainly changed since then. I helped move kind of the seating and such into the new terminal back in 77. And I was, about 12 years old. And, my dad was in the airline side of the world. So, I've seen a lot of the changes, but, really the big thing is, it was a small airport, small terminal then. It started out at about 35,000 square feet. And, we're going to be close to 500,000 square feet when we complete this next project.
Wow. And that's probably what everyone wants to know about the expansion. Is there any, what are the deadlines on that? Are you guys on goal to hit any deadlines?
We have a lot of deadlines that we're trying to meet. Obviously, there's a number of challenges in supply chains and tariffs and everything right now that have the potential to delay things. But right now, it's going pretty well. We're really trying to get the first baggage claim in service by the winter of 26, 27.
Okay.
And some of our gates online by summer of 27.
I know the last time I heard you speak, because I know I guess kind of in the shoulder season there before the summer, you guys closed the runway from, what was it, 3 to 11 p.m.?
Uh-huh.
Are you guys going to be doing that again in the fall?
No, our goal is while we occasionally do have to close the runway for construction, we don't ever close it for an entire day.
Yep.
So our ultimate goal is to really bring our second runway up to the capability so that we can shift all of our traffic over to the other parallel runway the next time we do major construction. And that's kind of our goal over the next, really about 6-7 years.
Mm-hmm. Just so you can always keep the flow going while you're expanding or doing anything else. Yeah, that makes complete sense. What is that? How many more gates will be added when this next project's done?
Well, we were at 12. We had to take 2 away to construct what we're doing.
Okay.
And when we're done, we'll have 15.
Okay. And then will there be a lot more flights coming online, or just kind of the similar trajectory of what it is now?
Yeah, in essence, when we build, there's kind of 2 focuses. One is we're building to catch up from where we were,
okay,
and also to plan where we're going. And in our environment, the growth tends to, be pretty, it really kind of exceeds expectations. Normally, you'd expect to see a growth pattern that you'd see growth and then it would moderate. And we expect that to happen, but it really hasn't. So we're just constantly trying to keep ahead of the curve. And so when you look at new flights and such, really it's more having the facilities to accommodate them when they come rather than, building it and expecting all of a sudden that because it's there that we'll have new air service. It's really kind of outside of our hands.
Yep.
For the airlines to choose when they, add flights or add service.
So it's more of a supply thing than a demand thing.
Yeah.
But the demand's there. Yeah, I found that interesting when I've watched you speak. It's just kind of, understanding a little more depth of the airlines needing to have those seats filled, because we'd all love a direct flight to everywhere that's convenient for us. But you put it in a much better perspective. If those planes are flying empty, those airlines are losing money, and that's...
Yeah, we see, sometimes an airport will, be excited to say that they have the lowest fares in the region, and we're kind of we have a little bit of trepidation saying things like that, because usually when you have the lowest fares, that means you may end up losing service in the future.
Yeah.
It's really that fine line. Ultimately, the airline has to make money. Uh, we are hoping that, from what our goals are, is to give people choices, both in airlines and the destinations, so that they can get the best, deal that they can get. But our goal isn't to have the lowest fares, because that ultimately means often you'll lose air service.
Yeah. I'll say this summer I went to visit my fiance's family, and they're in Boston, and we flew direct there and back, and I was a pretty happy camper about that.
Uh-huh.
It's just nice that you can come to the middle of the country where we are and get the selection of flights in my mind is pretty impressive.
It really kind of it even blows me away, the amount of service, especially to the Eastern time zone. There are no other communities, west of the Mississippi that have the kind of air service we do, until they at least have a population of 1 million or more.
Yeah, and it's funny. My sister went to school here. I haven't dialed down the exact year it was, but it's somewhere around 2010, maybe a year or two prior. I flew out to visit. She said, look at the flights into Billings. There's not many to Bozeman. I'll just come pick you up in Billings. And it was substantially in that 15 years, like it made more sense to fly to Billings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't make any sense at all to fly to Billings. This is definitely the hub.
Yeah, it's been a kind of our goal is to, really focus on getting the air service that we have. And we have to, acknowledge that we're pretty fortunate. We have a lot of reasons why people want to come here. And the more diversity in air service that we have, the easier it is for people to choose to come here.
Yeah, no, it's myself living here, but not being from here. All my friends and family want to visit all the time.
Uh,
It's who doesn't want an excuse to come here, and you don't need to make one up.
no, it's, it is amazing. I remember, 25 years ago, I'd go to a conference, and I would mention Bozeman, and people would be like, well, where's Bozeman? Now when I go to something, it's like, oh yeah, I was there, last year, or I have family that's visiting there, or I've got a nephew that's going to school there. So it really has had a dramatic change over that time frame.
Yeah, for sure. And are you a MSU graduate?
Originally, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
What? And are you from Montana originally?
I'm originally from Colorado,
Okay.
but moved up here in grade school, and started my, went through high school at Bozeman and college at MSU, and then got onto the airline side of the world. Left several times and kept coming back, and 26 years ago, I've never, stayed here ever since.
Yeah, there's a magnetic pull here for sure.
Yep.
I know I talked to you about this a while ago. I never heard anyone, or I never thought of this, and I don't think I've heard it repeated. But we were talking about parking and the parking garages and everything, and you had mentioned a world where maybe people will drive to the airport and their autonomous car will then drive home.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think about that kind of stuff when you guys are planning, parking and parking garages? I mean, it's obviously hard to predict the future, but
I think that those scenarios we're always kind of looking at, because especially when you start talking about a parking garage, and we are talking about new parking garages, but the cost of them is so high that you really have to gauge that with the ultimate demand. And I think that the scenario of that kind of situation happening gives us a little bit of hesitation. On the flip side, we are in Montana, and that almighty car
yeah,
is hard to give up. And the flexibility of having it. But I can absolutely see a time where it'd be nice to have that car in a heated garage at home while you're traveling and bring it out, to the airport and pick you up. It's all warmed up uh, with all of the movement toward autonomous vehicles and other areas, I think that's, the possibilities are there. I also believe there's a little bit of challenge in the environment here. The uh, icy roads complicate things. Snowy conditions
Yeah.
complicate things, and that I think will delay that. But I've seen a lot of changes over a lot of time, and it's hard to predict the future.
How much does the autonomy play into the airline side of things? Is there, I mean, because just not being in that world, but I mean, as far as pilots and, how much autonomy is there in airplanes now, and that is that stuff on the horizon a lot with the airlines?
I think there's there is already a lot of autonomy in aircraft. I mean, for the most part, they can take off and land without human interaction. Uh, but there's expectation from passengers to have that human element. Uh, and there's also an expectation, I think, out there that, when situations arise that a human pilot will be able to adapt to situations with, a lot more experience and be able to uh, alleviate some of those concerns that an autonomous flight 100% would be there.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I hear in the private car service transportation industry is that there's a lot of people. It's probably a lot of it's going to have to do with age demographic, but also income demographic. That
Hmm.
it's too much of a liability for them to just put themselves in an autonomous car. And it could, if you think of CEOs of different companies all over I know some CEOs like of big companies now, they won't fly together and they don't travel together just because of the liability. And they say that that same liability of putting anyone in an autonomous car where there's not that
Yeah.
human to override and have the final say to an extent.
Yeah. I think that, it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. And change doesn't always come easy, but one thing about it, there will be change.
Yeah, human nature persists.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part about being there? What's like what do you love about being in the airport? Like I think I told you earlier and I might have said it already again, but every time I see you, you're always working.
Uh-huh.
You're always doing something in the airport.
Well, I think, that's a complicated question because there's a lot of different parts that make it a really interesting job. One of the things that I really enjoy is, being able to be part of connecting people.
Yep.
You walk through the terminal and you'll see every emotion under the sun, but almost all of them are good emotions. Even if they're in bad situations, they're, people are happy to see people they haven't seen. They are, sad to see people leave. Uh, but that part of the connection, I think, is always, something special. On a, kind of from a career standpoint, there's never a single day that's the same.
Yeah.
So, you're always adapting and adjusting. And, I think in some of my previous careers, the big difference was a lot of the things that I had to do were, you know, during the day. Once the day was over, that was the end of the, uh, uh, challenge. Uh, but really, some of the big difference now is a lot of things that we're dealing with are a decade out, and planning to how do we get to where we need to be in a decade, but all of the steps that we have to accomplish between now and then.
Yeah, I guess that takes a lot of foresight really to worry about the day and then next week and 10
Yep.
years at the same time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, what advice would you give to anyone given your long career there and all the adaptation you've had to have, and just leadership and anything like that?
I think from my perspective, uh, you have to be uh, uh, a, a personality that appreciates that change is going to happen, and you're going to have to adapt. Uh, you don't always maybe like it,
Yeah.
but it's going to occur whether you're ready for it or not. So, a lot of what we're trying to do is, predict what changes are going to come and try to adapt to those that maybe we didn't anticipate.
And I mean, definitely been able to do that successfully for quite a while there.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. If somebody's if somebody's flying into Bozeman Airport for the first time, is there anything that makes like that they could know that would make their life a lot easier, and just anything that people don't know that that the airport does or provides or doesn't do?
Oh, that's a good question. I think some of the things that maybe people aren't expecting, and we see this fairly regular, is, that we actually are a busy airport. So anticipate that there will be crowds.
Yeah.
Uh, there are times of the day where it's empty, just like some major airports. But when it's busy, it's that's why we're expanding.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of surprises some people, that, the expectation is you're coming to a small podunk airport in Montana and
Mhm.
everything's going to be, uh, right outside the door. And, every expansion that we have just keeps extending those distances. So, if you have an anticipation that we're, more of a major airport than what you would initially kind of consider. Nowhere near an Atlanta or a Denver, but we're, significantly busier than, a lot of the smaller airports around the region.
Yeah, you would know better than me, but it seems like that like 11 to 2 p.m. window is when a lot of those flights come in, and I've been in there when
Yep.
it's busy.
Yeah, we see that time frame continuing to expand. It used to be about 11 to 1, and more it's 9 to 3, with some variations. And it can, and each day is different. Each day you'll have differences in airline flights and arrivals and departures. Uh, little things like, is it a predominant local day or a predominant, of non-resident travelers? Can make a big difference. Non-resident travelers tend to show up earlier. Local travelers tend to show up closer to departure time.
Some of them are crazy
Yeah,
in my mind. They're like, yeah, they're really they they
cutting it close.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's the this is just a good question to ask, and I should know. Is so TSA, it opens at, is it 4 or 3:30 now?
Generally, the rule of thumb is whenever the first departure is, they open up 2 hours prior.
2 hours prior. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's good to know, because just a question we get a lot, and some people want to be there 2 hours prior, and
Sure.
some of the locals want to be there 41 minutes prior to
Yep.
departure, and no, they somehow still make their flights. I know there's one day we had it was a family emergency, and I had to go back east, and I was at the airport in under an hour from the flight leaving, and I didn't have a ticket, and I got a ticket and got on that flight, and it was a lot of luck, really. It was just the right time of day and the right day of the week, and
I think, there is a little bit of luck. I think there's also a lot of effort that we have put in, from the airport standpoint and working with our partners, the airlines and the TSA, uh, really to focus on the pinch points that we've had in the terminal and try to improve those areas, particularly on the departure side. Uh, and we're, I think, much better at it now than we were even a couple of years ago because of, improvements at the TSA, improvements in baggage handling, improvements and throughout the terminal. Uh, and obviously, our focus at that time was really on the departure side. That's running pretty smoothly now, and now our focus is on the arrival side.
yeah, very cool. Is there anything that like anyone in the community should know, or like is helpful for them to know. And other than like, I'm sure you just get a lot of complaints, but like just anything in general.
Well, I think, we get, occasionally, there's a couple of comments that come about. One is, you know, why is the airport supporting all the growth, and I think that the misconception there is what we're doing is reacting to the growth.
Yep.
The community is going to grow one way or the other, and we're wanting to make sure that we're prepared for that growth. Uh, and the other, kind of question that we get a lot, or comment that we get, is that tourists don't pay their way. And while that may be a question in the amount that they may pay, uh, there are areas that they do pay more, and they do pay more in lodging taxes. They pay more in rental car taxes. Not to mention all of the things that they buy and such. And so I think that it's kind of an unfortunate expectation that tourists and non-residents are paying nothing, when really they are. The question is, should there be higher levels? But I think for some in the community that think they're paying nothing, we're trying to get the word out that no, that's not exactly true. They really do pay in a number of different ways. The big question is it enough with the impact on the area?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, the amount of people that tourism employs, and just you can go down the line, but there's so much revenue and so many jobs from that tourism.
Yeah, I think from, our most recent economic impact, which is now going on over 10 years, we've done a lot of growth since then. But we estimate that the economic impact for, Southwest Montana from the airport is well over $1.5 billion.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people that rely on it. There are a lot of people that are able to live here because of the access the airport provides. We've said, if you look at kind of where the center of the state of Montana, if you look back 100 years, the center of the state was really more Butte,
Yeah.
and it was natural resource extraction. And you go back 50 years, it was Billings. Trade and transportation was a very big part of the success and the growth of Billings. But now, with the changes in access, it's information. And that's shifted kind of a lot of the focus in the state toward Bozeman. But all of that information often requires access to the rest of the world. And that's what we're, I think, providing. And also, once you have that access, it does continue to create more interest in the area.
For sure. I know you said, people are saying you're responsible for the growth, and you're saying it's more of a reaction to the growth. And in my opinion, kind of back to where we started, is very intentional. It's not like I've I've been in. Is LaGuardia the one that has had a lot of a big expansion or a big
Uh-huh.
remodel? And I think it's beautiful. And yeah, it's all white and stainless steel, like you said, and there's some cool water fountains. And I think that's perfect for New York City, because that's what you would expect.
Sure.
And I kind of, like I said before, I think the reaction to the growth is the airport was needed, but it was done so intentionally with maintaining that feel of Montana. And I think everyone's worried about that right now with the city growing so fast. But it if it's done intentionally, it can just be an expansion of something that's already beautiful.
That's our goal.
Yeah,
Is we want to maintain the history uh, and the desirability of our area. We intentionally sometimes make areas look a little smaller than they may actually be, just because we don't want to be that massive, expansive airport in appearance, but we still have to handle a lot of people.
Yeah, that's definitely a balance, and it's like I said, hats off to you. It seems like you guys are doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
Is there anything that anyone can do to help? If like, are you guys? Is there anyone are you guys hiring? Are you guys always looking for people? Is there any like
Yeah.
areas that are a tough area for the airport?
We're actually pretty fortunate right now. From the airport standpoint, there's like over 1,600 employees that work airport wide, uh, but they're also employed by about 40 different entities. Uh, the airport authority, which basically is responsible for the airport facilities, we have about 85 employees altogether, and I think that if we were to ever, the one thing we would ask anybody at any time was, you're traveling, be patient, plan ahead, get to the airport early. It just goes so much smoother when you're not rushed. Uh, Obviously, sometimes that's not an option, but I know in my own travels, and maybe it's because I like airports. I'm not opposed to getting to the airport early and just enjoying the time there and not being in a hurry.
Yeah, those. I feel like you've said that more than once or twice in your lifetime, but
Yep.
I agree and relate because just taking the stress off, and usually most of us have some kind of work or something we can do, even if we're sitting in the airport a little bit longer.
Yeah, and there's I mean, I have a personal story that I've said is, I'm not immune to having my own challenges, uh, but left my wallet at home. I got all the way to the airport and get up to the checkpoint and realize I don't have any ID.
Yeah,
Uh, and I don't have any credit cards. I don't have any cash. I don't have anything. Uh, but I did have time. And so I was able to go home and get that. That's just, one of those things that I wish I wouldn't have done, but I didn't think of it, missed it. And that extra time meant that I still made my flight.
yeah. For some reason, it seems like it happens to all of us at least once. I don't know why. If folks want to, find out more, all the flight schedules are on your guys' website. That's pretty much where they can get most of the up-to-date information.
Yeah, really, we try to make sure that the BozemanAirport.com website is up to date, has all the current flight information, and obviously can answer a lot of questions about the airport.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. Appreciate what you guys do, and you're always out in the community, kind of keeping everyone informed of what you guys do. And you made the time to come here, so thank you, and thanks to the whole team at the airport.
You bet. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Tim.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.